Because Vladimir and I had a very good relationship, probably still do. I don't know why he continues with this war. This war has been so bad for him.
Donald Trump criticizes Putin, saying that Russian president is simply unwilling to end the war in Ukraine, as Zelensky is set to meet the US president in Washington on Friday.
Donald Trump says another strike on boats allegedly taking drugs from Venezuela towards United States has killed 6 narco-terrorists. At least 27 people have been killed so far in such attacks.
Donald Trump hails assassinated ally Charlie Kirk as a martyr for truth and freedom as he posthumously awards the right-wing activist America's highest civilian honor.
Ecuador's Interior Ministry released a video showing police firing tear gas at diesel subsidy protesters in Imbabura. A convoy of 100 vehicles carrying military and police personnel was sent from Quito to quell the unrest.
Intense clashes erupt between Pakistani forces and Afghan Taliban near the Khurram border in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. State media says Afghan Taliban and TTP militants launched fire, prompting response from the army.
Bangladesh's dengue outbreak is worsening rapidly with rising infections and deaths across the country. Over 50,000 dengue cases and more than 215 deaths reported nationwide in the first week of October.
Donald Trump slammed China's halt of American soybean purchases as an economically hostile act, warning that Washington could in turn stop buying cooking oil from Beijing.
Cristiano Ronaldo sets a new record for World Cup qualifying goals, but Hungary hold Portugal to a late 2-all draw, denying them a chance to qualify for next summer's tournament with 2 games to spare. The Israeli military has confirmed that the remains of 4 more hostages have been handed over by Hamas. This happened on Tuesday.
And they have been brought into Israel from Gaza. Well, the transfer came after Israel urged Hamas to fulfill its part of the agreement and make the necessary efforts to return all the hostages to their families for proper burial. It warned that any delay or deliberate avoidance will be considered a gross violation of the agreement and will be responded to accordingly.
Already on Monday, Hamas had transferred the remains of 4 hostages just hours after releasing the last 20 living hostages under the ceasefire deal brokered by US President Donald Trump. Those whose remains were handed over on Monday were Israeli citizens Guy Iluz, Yossi Sharabi and Daniel Peretz,
as well as Nepalese agriculture student Bipin Joshi. Now, separately, a Gaza hospital said it had received the bodies of 45 Palestinians handed back by Israel, also as part of Trump's plan to end the war.
Under the deal, Israel was to turn over the bodies of 15 Palestinians for every deceased hostage returned. Hamas is still holding the bodies of 20 hostages, which are expected.
Now, demonstrators gathered in Tel Aviv to celebrate the liberation of all living hostages and demand the return of the remains of the dead hostages still held by Hamas.
Israel has said that it will only allow half the agreed number of 8 trucks into Gaza starting Wednesday. according to a note seen by Reuters and confirmed by the UN over slow release of hostage bodies.
Trump, in a post on Truth social media, said that the job is not yet done. The dead have not been returned as promised, but added that phase 2 begins right away. Among the key issues is, of course, the disarmament of Hamas. Trump said that US will disarm Hamas if the Palestinian group refuses to do so themselves, adding that it could be done violently if needed. Well, this while Hamas is tightening its grip on Gaza, launching a crackdown and executing alleged collaborators.
The Palestinian group published a video on its official channel showing the street execution of 8 blindfolded and kneeling suspects, branding them collaborators and outlaws. The footage, apparently from Monday evening, emerged as armed clashes were underway between Hamas' various security units and armed Palestinian clans in parts of the territory on the 5th day of a US-brokered truce between Hamas and Israel.
And for more on this, we're now being joined live by Giorgio Geffiro. He's a professor at the Georgetown University and CEO, Gulf State Analytics. Thank you so much, Mr. Geffiro, for joining us on the broadcast.
Glad to be with you.
Mr. Geffiro, now with the ceasefire under strain, the aid has been restricted and there are competing visions which are emerging for the future of Gaza. Now, are we at last looking at finally the restructuring of the political balance here, or is it yet another fragile pause before the conflict, of course, begins again?
Well, that's an excellent question, and nobody knows the answer. You're obviously right to point out that the ceasefire is quite shaky right now. It's extremely fragile. There's no guarantees that this ceasefire is going to last too much longer. There are clearly some serious problems right now. Obviously, this huge question about Hamas disarming is one that leaves me quite pessimistic about the two sides being able to stick to the terms of phase 1 of Trump's so-called peace initiative and move on to the second and third phase. I think it's very clear that Israel failed to achieve its goal of disarming Hamas. We see that Hamas, while certainly weakened, is very far from being eradicated. We've seen this scenes on the streets of different parts of Gaza. The Hamas fighters are still there.
Yes.
And, the Israeli leadership was clear. Their goal was to destroy Hamas. So if Hamas remains a reality in Gaza, will the leadership in Israel accept that? I don't think so. I'm not very optimistic about where this ceasefire is going to go from here.
Yeah, and Professor Geffiro, that a threat had already come from the Israeli side that if the remaining hostages, the deceased ones, their bodies are not returned, they will start cutting off aid. And this is hours after the Gaza Peace Summit. And on the other side of inside the Gaza Strip, you're already seeing armed conflicts taking place, executions taking place, different Palestinian factions fighting amongst each other, of course, Hamas being one of them. It's all too volatile, too many sparks. It just needs a little bit of wrong air and it blows up all over again. Are we being too pessimistic right now? Is that really what it is?
Well, I certainly understand where your pessimism comes from, and I just think it's important to appreciate the fact that the extent to which the U.S. puts pressure on Israel to continue abiding by the ceasefire, or at least I should say to abide by the ceasefire, is the key variable in the equation. We need to be very clear, not only the Israeli leadership, but the majority of Israelis, members of Israeli society, want to see Israel continue with its aims of the past 2 years of ethnically cleansing the Palestinians, not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank. The leadership definitely, when you look at the figures in Netanyahu's cabinet, these are figures who want Israel to annex Gaza as well as the West Bank. And I think the only scenario in which Israel would not go ahead with this greater Israel agenda would be one in which the Trump administration threatens to cut off economic and military assistance to Israel. I don't see the Trump administration doing that. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see the White House doing that. And
is the pressure on the
have
US
some-
essentially on Israel, apart from the pressure which is already there on Hamas?
Absolutely. And on the other side of it is, of course, now President Donald Trump has said that if Hamas doesn't disarm itself, then US is going to do it, and violently if so needed. But at the same time, Hamas is also tightening its grip on the region. Now, with these competing visions emerging, how might that affect the already fragile ceasefire here? And is disarmament, which is, of course, the sticking point in the peace plan, is it even going to come by?
Well, there is a tremendous amount of pressure on Hamas to disarm, and that is obviously an important factor. And Hamas, I mean, even going back before this month, they were clear that they would, in principle, be open to, they would be willing to disarm if Israel is going to withdraw from Gaza. But many on the Palestinian side and many observers do not believe that Israel will actually carry out a complete withdrawal from Gaza. And within this context, it's sort of difficult to imagine Hamas agreeing to disarm. If we're going to try to see this from Hamas's perspective, they don't want a situation where they disarm and then Israel can restart its genocidal war on Gaza without the Palestinians in the enclave being able to defend themselves. They would see that as a suicidal move. But at the same time, Hamas does not have too many good options right now. So it's obviously right to point out that Hamas is under a lot of pressure, no good options on the table.
I hear your point. And Professor Kviro, as far as pressure is concerned, and we've had other voices also suggesting what you've also suggested, that the pressure needs to be both ways, not just on Hamas, also on Israel, which US is the only one who can exert that kind of pressure. Let's wait and watch how this one pans out. It's Trump's plan. He will also want to see it go towards complete fruition. Let's see how this one goes forward. That was Professor Kviro joining us on World DNA. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. US President Donald Trump has criticized his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin for prolonging the war in Ukraine.
And of course, showing what he called unwillingness to accept a ceasefire. Listen to this.
Look, I'm very disappointed because Vladimir and I had a very good relationship, probably still do. I don't know why he continues with this war. This war has been so bad for him. He's going into 4 years of a war that he should have won that war in 1 week. He's now going to soon be into his 4th year.
Trump's remarks come ahead of a key White House meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday. High on the agenda is the possibility of the US supplying Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles.
I mean, I have the president coming in on Friday, and I know what he has to say. He wants weapons. He would like to have Tomahawks. Everyone else wants Tomahawks. And we have a lot of Tomahawks.
Poland's foreign minister said that Europe must brace for the possibility of Russian attacks deeper inside the continent and build defenses, including a drone wall on NATO's eastern flank.
Russia, using all kinds of ships, clunker feet, whatever, can reach, unfortunately, deep into Europe. And we should be prepared to counter that. And so I think not to build anti-drone and drone capacity these days would be irresponsible.
In Ukraine, President Zelensky is taking tighter control of the country's southern port city of Odessa, citing national security concerns. He announced that he will install a military administration to govern the city just hours after revoking the citizenship of Odessa Mayor Hennady Turkanov. He is accused of secretly holding a Russian citizenship.
Odessa deserves more protection and more support. This can be done in the format of a military administration. There are too many security issues in Odessa, and for too long a time they have remained without a proper answer. All effective decisions will be made. I will appoint the head of the military administration in the near future.
Meanwhile, widespread blackouts hit capital city Kiev and several other regions, including Sumy and Kharkiv, plunging them into darkness, with metro systems running on backup power and water pressure dropping dramatically. The United States has conducted a lethal strike on a vessel off the coast of Venezuela.
And it has killed 6 people. And announcing the operation, US President Donald Trump claimed that the boat was affiliated with narco-terrorists and trafficking narcotics.
Now, this is the 5th strike of its kind since September, with a total of 27 people now reportedly killed. Trump said that the latest strike was carried out in international waters and was transiting along a known designated terrorist organization route.
Well, the US has increased military presence in the Caribbean, deploying warships and planes to target suspected drug trafficking vessels which are linked to Venezuela. Since an initial strike on September 2nd, now the move escalated tensions with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who views the deployment as a threat to his regime, placing the country on alert. Now, US President Donald Trump has claimed that the operations are part of an effective anti-drug policy, hinting at potential expansion to land routes.
Venezuela's National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez accused the US of having ulterior motives behind the recent strike on a boat in the Caribbean. He alleged that the real goal is to seize control of Venezuela's natural resources rather than combating drug trafficking.
The real intention is not drug trafficking. The real intention is action against Venezuela, that the real intention is to threaten Venezuela, and that the ultimate intention, the ultimate goal, is to take control of the natural resources of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
And there's more on this from our correspondent Susan, who sends us this report from New York. Listen in.
The U.S. government launched a military strike against another vessel off the coast of Venezuela, claiming it was transporting narcotics. President Trump and his administration are framing this as an escalation in the campaign against cartels, treating drug trafficking operations as a key to combat threats. Officials say that the strikes killed multiple people, though full details remain murky, at least for now, and whether they were cartel operatives is contested at this point. This move draws scrutiny over legal authority to conduct strikes in international waters and the potential for reprisal in Latin America. It also signals President Trump's broader intention to aggressively confront drug networks, trying his law and order national security messaging heading into the midterm elections. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World this one.
US President Donald Trump hailed Charlie Kirk as a martyr for truth and freedom as he posthumously awarded the right-wing activist America's highest civilian honor.
Now, handing the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Kirk's tearful widow, Trump compared the conservative to Socrates, St. Peter, Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King.
Now, among those present at the ceremony at the White House were Argentine President Javier Milei and several right-wing media figures. The event coincided with what would have been Kirk's 32nd birthday and recognized his role in shaping a generation of young conservatives and influencing the nation's politics.
I was going to call Erica and say, Erica, could you maybe move it to Friday? And I didn't have the courage to call. But you know why I didn't call? Because I heard today was Charlie's birthday. And I said, you know, that was a definite.
Thank you, Mr. President, for honoring my husband in such a profound and meaningful way. And thank you for making this event a priority amid the peace process in the Middle East. Thank you. Very grateful.
Kirk, who was the founder of Turning Point USA, was shot on the 10th of September while speaking at an event at Utah Valley University. The incident has become a rallying point for the Republican president, who has used it to energize his base and push for sweeping measures by the state against what he calls radical left extremism. The 250th anniversary of the United States Navy has been marred by a series of online gaffes.
Well, this after several American accounts mistakenly posted images of warships belonging to other nations, including Russia.
The United States Naval Criminal Investigative Service, that's the NCIS, they wished the US Navy on the occasion of the 250th anniversary with a photograph of a Russian warship, images of which are now deleted.
Well, many of the photos hailed as symbols of US Navy's might showed Soviet or Russian vessels, causing a wave of ridicule and criticism on social media on an important event for the American armed forces.
New pictures surfaced soon after the eyebrows were raised at the wrong pictures posted on social media. Some of the posts remained online for hours before being removed.
Now, the events marking the 1775 creation of the Navy and Marine Corps proceeded despite the government shutdown that has closed many federal agencies and offices.
A ship parade streamed up and down the Delaware River beside Philadelphia last week to kick off a celebration of the 250th birthday of the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps. Among the ships that took part were the USS Lassen, the USS Billings and the USS Cooperstown.
And it's a Jurassic jackpot. Paleontologists in the UK have uncovered a network of nearly 200 dinosaur footprints at a quarry in Oxfordshire.
And one of the longest trackways found anywhere in the world. Beneath layers of rock and mud, researchers have found dozens of dinosaur footprints remarkably preserved from a time when giant reptiles ruled the earth. The 220-meter trail, one of the longest continuous trackways ever found, offers rare insight into their life during the Middle Jurassic period.
Well, the tracks are believed to have been made by a species of sauropod dinosaur known as Cetiosaurus. They grew up to around 16 meters in length and lived around 171 to 165 million years ago in what is now Britain and France. While some of the tracks were left by massive sauropods, others belonged to the carnivorous Megalosaurus. Megalosaurus, originally named in 1824, was the world's first scientifically described dinosaur.
We're the first people to see these, and also it's just a really great experience to work on something in the UK of this size and scale. It's so rare to find something this big where you can get that picture into this past world.
The farm quarry has long been linked with dinosaurs. Some trackways at the quarry were discovered in the 1990s, and last year researchers found 200 huge footprints crisscrossing the quarry floor. However, this year the team unearthed even more tracks in a different part of the quarry. Paleontologists say controlled explosion in the quarry helped them to excavate each sunken footprint beneath millions of years of limestone rock.
Now, while much of the surface remains unexplored, the footprints can answer questions about how dinosaurs interacted. Were they alone or in a herd, being chased or simply ambling along? And with that, it's time for a short break on World DNA.
Don't go anywhere, lots more on the other side. When we come back, fresh clashes erupted once again between Pakistan's security officers and Afghanistan's Taliban. This happened along the border regions of both the countries. We'll bring you the details on that front.
Also on the other side of World DNA, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is calling on allies to put up a united front against China as trade tensions escalate over rare earth minerals between both the countries. We're going to get you all the details on the other side of World DNA. Stay tuned. You're watching Beyond World is One.
Over, okay? You understand that? This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
The best day of my life.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace for their great contribution to this effort.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building, coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building, coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Deeksha. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Florida Republican Representative Anna Paulina Luna announces that she received a report from Russia on JFK's assassination. A team is translating and analyzing the documents, which she describes as highly significant.
As bodies of 4 more Gaza hostages arrive in Israel, crowds gather in Tel Aviv to celebrate the release of all living hostages. A call on Palestinian militants to hand over the remains of the 20 others still in Gaza.
We will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games.
US President Donald Trump warns that Hamas must disarm voluntarily or the Palestinian militant group will be forcibly disarmed.
But if they don't... Look, I'm very disappointed because Vladimir and I had a very good relationship, probably still do. I don't know why he continues with this war. This war has been so bad for him.
Donald Trump criticizes Putin, saying the Russian president is simply unwilling to end the war in Ukraine, as Zelensky is set to meet the US president in Washington on Friday.
Ecuador's Interior Ministry released video showing police firing tear gas at diesel subsidy protesters in Imbabura. A convoy of 100 vehicles carrying military and police personnel was sent from Quito to quell the unrest.
Intense clashes erupt between Pakistani forces and Afghan Taliban near the Kurram border in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. State media says Afghan Taliban and TTP militants launched fire, prompting response from Pakistan.
Bangladesh's dengue outbreak is worsening rapidly, with rising infections and deaths across the country. Over 50,000 dengue cases and more than 215 deaths have been reported nationwide in the first week of October.
Gold futures smashed through another record on Wednesday, surging past the $4,200 per ounce mark for the first time ever, what marks a roughly 60% gain in 2025.
Cristiano Ronaldo sets a new record for World Cup qualifying goals, but Hungary hold Portugal to a late 2-2 draw, denying them a chance to qualify for next summer's tournament with 2 games to spare. Intense fighting erupted once again between Pakistani security forces and the Afghan Taliban.
And this was along the border between the two countries in Kurram district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. According to the state media, Afghan Taliban and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan militants opened unprovoked fire in the area, prompting the Pakistani army to respond with full force and intensity. PTV News reported that Afghan Taliban posts suffered significant damage, including the destruction of at least one tank. Following the exchange of fire, Taliban fighters reportedly retreated from their positions.
Later, the state broadcaster said that another Taliban post and tank position were destroyed in Kurram, with a 4th tank position at Shamsadar post also being hit. Meanwhile, Afghan Taliban units have deployed armoured vehicles and personnel in Spin Boldak, the frontier between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Citing recent clashes that produced casualties on both sides, Taliban commander warned that they remain on heightened alert, while Taliban fighters said they would cross the Durand line to engage if provoked further.
When Pakistan attacked Afghanistan, the Ministry of Defense ordered our army, "You must respond to this attack." Then the Islamic fighters along the entire frontier from Iran's border to the Wakhan corridor launched a crushing counterstrike simultaneously.
It is not our intention to fight Pakistan on this side of the Durand line. We will cross the line and fight them on their soil. That will always be our policy. Even now we are waiting for the commanders to give the order. We will move across from the Durand line.
Pakistan's Inter-Services Public Relations ISPR reported that Afghan Taliban forces initiated the attack on border posts over the weekend, resulting in the deaths of 23 Pakistani troops. In retaliation, Pakistan's military forces are said to have killed more than 200 Taliban militants and their affiliates. Kabul has described the attack as a retaliatory action, accusing Islamabad of carrying out airstrikes on Afghan territory last week. Pakistan is set to sign a preliminary deal on a review of its loan program with the International Monetary Fund this week.
Now, the move would mark a key step to securing another $1.24 billion payout from the lender. Last week, an IMF team left Pakistan without signing the so-called staff-level agreements on reviews of its two main support programs, which are worth a combined $8.4 million. Last year, IMF support agreed helped shore up Pakistan's $370 billion economy following a severe economic crisis that sent its currency tumbling. Countries under IMF lending programs need to pass regular reviews, which, once signed off by the fund's executive board, trigger loan payments.
Pakistan's Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb said Islamabad now plans to return to capital markets, starting with its first green bond denominated in Chinese yuan before the end of the year. Aurangzeb, who is expected to meet with US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this week, said that Pakistan is relieved to have ended up with a 19% US tariff, having originally braced for a 29% levy.
And China-US trade tensions have reached a new height.
Rare earths are shaping the battle between the world's top two economies, and now US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is calling on allies to put up a united front against Beijing. In a statement given to US broadcasting network Fox News, Bessent has accused China of trying to undermine global stability, saying Beijing is financing war while the United States is pushing for peace.
Well, China recently announced sweeping new export controls on rare earth minerals, critical components used in electronics, automobiles and defense technology. As the world's leading producer of these minerals, China's move sent shockwaves through global supply chains. Now, according to the US Geological Survey, China produces almost 70% of the world's rare earths, and Beijing controls over 90% of the refining and processing of rare earths. China's move directly threatens US defense industry. More than 80% of American weapon systems rely on rare earth minerals, from precision-guided missiles and stealth fighter jets to nuclear submarines and next-generation radar networks. Rare earths form the core foundation of the US defense industry.
Bessent said the timing of the decision is unclear, but it described it as a provocative move that targets the world economy. He said this is China versus the rest of the world. The Treasury Secretary also sought support from Europe and India to form a coordinated response against China's move. The escalation comes just days after President Donald Trump announced a 100% tariff on Chinese goods starting November 1st.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Take a look.
President Trump is reportedly considering ending certain trade ties with China, particularly those related to cooking oil, as a response to Beijing sharply reducing U.S. soybean purchases. He described China's cutback in purchasing U.S. soy as an, quote, economically hostile act, and said on social media that the U.S. can produce cooking oil domestically without relying on Chinese imports. This would add another layer in the escalation in the long-standing trade dispute between Washington and Beijing, adding pressure to the agricultural sector as well and intensifying tensions. During a meeting with the Argentine president who was visiting the White House, President Trump also said that the U.S. has to be careful with China, noting that while he considers the relationship to be fair, China has a track record of trying to take advantage of others. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Scam centers in Myanmar blamed for swindling billions from victims across the world are expanding fast.
Now, this just months after a crackdown that was supposed to eradicate them. Satellite images show new buildings springing up inside a heavily guarded compound near the Thailand-Myanmar border, with others with dishes for Elon Musk's Starlink service.
Starlink has gone from nowhere at the time of the crackdown in February to becoming Myanmar's biggest internet provider every day from July 3rd until 1st of October. This is according to data from the APNIC Asian Regional Internet Registry. The US Congress Joint Economic Committee told AFP they have begun an investigation into Starlink's involvement with the centers.
Now, China, Thailand and Myanmar forced pro-junta Myanmar militias who protect the centers into promising to eradicate the compounds in February.
They freed around 7,000 people, most Chinese citizens, from the call center style system, which the United Nations says runs on forced labor and human trafficking. Many workers told AFP they were beaten and forced to work long hours by scam bosses who target victims across the globe with telephone, internet and social media cons.
Now, reports say that around 100,000 people may still be trapped inside these scam centers and many beaten or trafficked. They warn that unless Myanmar's military rulers and militias stop supporting these networks, the scam industry will keep growing using modern technology to power age-old crimes. In a major step towards strengthening maritime ties, India's Navy INS Shayadri has reached Busan, South Korea.
The warship will take part in the maiden bilateral naval exercise with the Republic of Korea Navy, boosting Indo-Pacific cooperation. Take a look. Friday's historic crypto crash of the $380 billion wiped out about $131 billion came from the altcoins ecosystem.
Right now, it's unclear if the gamblers will return after the altcoin casino exploded in a big way last week. Now, this is what we decode in the next report. Take a look.
The crypto altcoins crash worth $131 billion in a single session on Friday has traders fearing lasting damage. The deep sell-off didn't just hit Bitcoin. The crash wiped out several altcoin ecosystems. The speculative token ecosystems, which rely on viral memes, celebrity branding and momentum to guarantee wealth for generations, were completely erased. Renewed trade war headlines driven by President Trump's tariff threat on China late last week drove Bitcoin's 13% crash. But smaller tokens took a significantly heavier hit. Several of them dropped by as much as 80% before making a shaky recovery this week. According to CoinMarketCap, the price of Trump's meme coin dropped 37% on Friday. Another coin linked to the Trump family, the WLFI token from World Liberty Financial, also fell by a comparable amount. According to 10x Research, of the $380 billion erased, about $131 billion came from altcoins. The speculative token sector is built on thinner liquidity, speculative narratives, and day trader hype. Now the crash raises doubts about the future of the altcoin ecosystem. Fewer buyers and more risk aversion are undermining the structural bets in these tokens. As a result of the extraordinary scale and rapidity of the historic crash, the episode may finally put an end to the go-go era. Previously, a common theme seen in the sector was anonymous projects spiking 1,000% for no rhyme or reason. As researchers at Arca put it, casual observers watching global markets may have missed it, but several traders were completely wiped out. One trader in a social media post on platform X said, "Lost everything in yesterday's crash. All my dreams and goals destroyed in minutes. The loan, credit debt, mother's savings for last 7 years, my salary, everything went to zero." The trader added, "Don't have any idea how to recover my money, what to tell my mother." According to CoinGlass, one social media post from Trump resulted in over 1.6 million traders liquidated in a single session on Friday. The liquidations total a record $20 billion. The crypto market saw about $850 billion wiped off its value. According to on-chain data shared by Look On-Chain, one large investor placed a bet against cryptos just before Trump's 100% China tariff announcement. Reports show speculation of insider trading on that single large bet just before Trump's social media post, which caused mayhem in markets. Altcoins include a broad swath of digital assets, excluding Bitcoin and Ether. These include meme coins pegged to popular trends on social media. Some examples are the Shiba Inu breed of dogs, a cartoon frog named Pipi, and even a real-life hippo named Mudeng. These kinds of coins were hit hardest on Friday and early Saturday. The sell-off began across markets, but altcoins fell harder due to their inherent fragility. Now market participants expect a long freeze for niche digital assets. This is not just because many traders saw their portfolios obliterated last week, but every few coins have proved profitable even before the latest carnage. Business Bureau, WION World is One.
And Instagram is introducing a new series of safety restrictions for users under the age of 18.
This is as part of a global push to protect underage accounts from harmful or explicit content. Now, the social media platform will limit what users under 18 can see, defaulting their feeds to content that meets the PG-13 movie guidelines. And that means teenagers will no longer be exposed to themes like extreme violence, sexual nudity, or graphic drug use. And they won't be able to change these settings unless their parents or guardians give explicit approval. The new rules are initially rolling out in the US, UK, Australia and Canada, with a worldwide launch planned for the next year. Instagram is also introducing a stricter filter called limited content. It will prevent teen users from seeing or commenting on posts that have the setting turned on.
Now, beyond content filters, Instagram is expanding controls across accounts, direct messages, search and recommendations. Teens won't be allowed to follow or interact with accounts that share age-inappropriate material. And those accounts will also be removed from recommendations, making them harder to find.
The platform is also blocking links to inappropriate content in DMs and extending existing bans on topics like eating disorders and self-harm.
Meta has said it is also filtering out words such as alcohol and gore and using spell check detection to ensure that teens can't access those categories even with misspellings.
The move comes as tech firms face increasing scrutiny over teen safety last month. OpenAI and Character AI announced similar restrictions after lawsuits accused AI chatbots of causing harm to young users. Alright, it's time for sports now, and it's over to football. Italy's 2026 World Cup qualifier with Israel was prefaced by clashes between pro-Palestinian demonstrators clashing with the police in Udine.
Now, the march was reportedly attended by over 5,000 people. Demonstrators carried Palestinian and peace flags, chanted pro-Gaza slogans, and held signs targeting the match, including "Show Israel the red carpet" and "You don't play with genocide."
The protest was organized by the Committee for Palestine Udine. The group called on FIFA to ban Israel from all competitions, accusing the national team of supporting occupation policies in the Palestinian territories. The protest began peacefully, but tensions rose shortly before kickoff.
Now, some protesters threw firecrackers and crowd-control barriers at the riot police. Officers responded with water cannons and tear gas. Italian media reported that at least one journalist was injured during the clashes.
Dominated the game on the field. Matteo converted a penalty on the stroke of halftime to put the hosts ahead. It is the stage where four-time champion Italy, they were eliminated in the previous two World Cups.
Well, it was a star-studded night in New York as actor Keanu Reeves, Sandra Oh and Aziz Ansari unveiled their latest supernatural comedy, Good Fortune.
just trying to be a better person and trying to be and help. Probably Gabriel's he's an angel. I'm no angel. He's an angel.
All right, viewers, that's a wrap on this edition of World DNA with Diksha. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss after a very short break. Stay with us. News and updates will be continuing after this short break. This is Beyond World is One. Stay with us.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
YO1 Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to YO1 Health Resort. Make your reservation at yo1.com.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Where darkness hides behind